Welcome to Sheikh Hamdan's official channel, where the heartbeat of poetry meets the soul of royalty. Today, we present to you an intimate revelation titled, The Royal Verse, Sheikh Hamdan's Heart Unveiled. This is not just a poetic expression. It is an emotional outpouring from the heart of a prince who has lived behind palace walls, yet carries within him a universe of unspoken love, aching memories, and a passion deeper than oceans. In this masterpiece, Sheikh Hamdan does not wear a crown. He wears his emotions and invites you into the tender corridors of his heart. Behind the grand corridors of the palace, beyond the glimmering chandeliers and golden robes, lies a heart that beats just like yours. A heart that has known longing, that has whispered verses into the night when no one was watching. In these verses, Sheikh Hamdan lays down his royal guard and opens the velvet curtains to the world within. He is not just the crown prince of Dubai in this poem. He is a man in love, vulnerable, truthful, and profoundly real. He writes not to impress, but to confess. His quill dances across parchment soaked in emotions, regret, gratitude, longing, and love. To be a ruler is fate, he pens, but to be a lover is a choice. And in that choice, he has surrendered to a woman who may never understand the depth of what he carries for her. She is not named here, but she lives in every syllable he breathes. She is the unseen muse, the queen of a kingdom no one else can find. The poem traces the journey of a guarded prince who met his mirror in a woman of rare strength. You did not bow to my name, he writes. You looked at my soul. Her love was not for titles or treasures, it was for the trembling voice beneath his power. Her hands calmed storms no guards could stop, and her silence understood the loudest chapters of his unspoken stories. That is why he calls her the verse that finishes every incomplete line in me. There are nights he confesses to losing himself in her memory. When my kingdom sleeps, he reveals, I walk barefoot into your name and write our story on the winds. There is something hauntingly beautiful in the way he mourns a love that still lives, like a rose kept alive in winter by sheer will. She is not gone, and yet, something has created distance. Whether it's duty, destiny, or doubt, the prince stands in the space between wanting and waiting. His vulnerability unfolds in the lines where he admits, I have everything the world envies, but not the one thing my soul aches for, your presence beside me. These are not the words of a ruler. They are the moans of a lover stripped of power by emotion. You hear the crack in his voice, the silent tears tucked behind strong eyes, the royal ache of a man who no longer wishes to hide behind protocol. Yet, amid the sorrow, there is hope. Sheikh Hamdan writes, I believe in a time where love will silence tradition, and truth will overpower fear. This is not rebellion, it is revelation. It is a call for love to stand sovereign over all laws. He is willing to face the waves of opinion, the storm of expectation, just to have a chance at a future where she is not just a memory but a reality beside him, forever. The verses ripple with questions only she can answer. Do you still dream of the nights I promised you forever? Do you remember the man behind the prince? He dares to hope, even if the answer is silence. He understands that poetry is a form of survival, and perhaps, the only way he can still speak to her without breaking the world around him. This poem is his quiet scream, his royal letter sent into the wind. He closes the verse with an image so powerful, it lingers in the soul. If the palace must crumble for you to believe me, then let the walls fall. I was a prince before I met you. But with you, I became a man. It is a confession worthy of legend, a declaration that behind every strong man is a woman he would surrender a kingdom for. What makes the royal verse unforgettable is not just its beauty, it's the pain stitched beneath its elegance. It is a reminder that even kings have wounds, that even royalty kneels before the throne of true love. In these lines, Sheikh Hamdan does not hide behind gold. He offers his heart as the final verse, the last truth, the one secret he can no longer keep locked away. As you let this masterpiece echo in your heart, remember, not every crown shines in the sunlight. Some are forged in silence, love, and sacrifice. The royal verse is not just a poem, it is a monument to the woman who unlocked a hidden kingdom inside a royal soul. She may never fully know what she means to him, but through these words, the world surely will. When Sheikh Hamdan picks up his pen, it is not ink that flows. It is the essence of a heart that refuses to forget. In this continuation of the royal verse, we witness a man who still walks through the gardens of memory where every flower reminds him of her laughter, and every breeze feels like her breath against his cheek. His world is no longer filled with just politics and protocol. It is colored by a longing that will not fade with time or titles. Every poem he writes becomes a prayer for her to feel him again, even from a distance. He revisits their first exchange with poetic reverence. "You didn't know who I was," he remembers, "but I knew who you were before I even asked your name." That moment became the axis on which his entire heart spun. Her simplicity was her crown, her wisdom sharper than any royal sword, and her love, the kind that expected nothing, became the most sacred thing he's ever been entrusted with. She made him feel like more than a prince, she made him feel human. He confesses how deeply he fears losing that feeling. "What if the world drowns your memory of me?" he writes. "What if you no longer believe in the man behind the legend?" These aren't just questions, they are quiet laments that echo in the royal chambers where he now sits alone. Where once her words warmed the halls of his heart, now silence wraps around him like cold marble. But even in solitude, he loves her fiercely, faithfully. In this part of the verse, the tone deepens. He admits that power means nothing if it cannot protect love. "I can sign laws and build cities," he says, "but I cannot make you stay if you no longer feel what I do." This is where the prince becomes a poet, and the poet becomes a man. He acknowledges that love is not something he can control, only something he can offer, in full honesty and humility. It is his most royal act, to kneel emotionally before the woman who owns his soul. His words spill over into prophecy. "I have seen a future where we walk freely, hand in hand, without whispers or judgment," he writes. It is a dream he clings to more than any throne. In that vision, he is not Prince Hamdan, but simply a man who has loved right, loved deep, and loved through storms. He believes she is the storm and the calm after it, and in his poetic realm, that paradox is beautiful. He reveals how even the desert mourns with him. "The falcons fly slower now," he writes. "Even the sands whisper your name when I ride alone." Every corner of his kingdom holds a trace of her, where they laughed, where she smiled, where she said nothing but said everything with her eyes. His land has become a living memory, a sacred map drawn by the footsteps of a love that still burns. In another striking verse, he declares, "They told me to forget you, to move on, to marry for alliance, not love. But how do I forget the one who taught me what love truly means?" He resists the world's expectations not because he is stubborn, but because he is faithful. Faithful to a connection that defied logic, defied fear, and awakened his soul when nothing else could. His loyalty is not just to his people, but to the woman who once smiled at him like he wasn't royalty, but real. He then pens his most vulnerable confession yet. "Sometimes I stand before the mirror in royal garments and still feel like a beggar waiting at your door." That line alone reveals a depth of devotion rarely seen in leaders. He does not just miss her, he longs to be worthy of her again. Not by wealth or fame, but by truth. And if truth is the bridge, he is willing to walk it barefoot, with every wound exposed. There is a quiet shift in his tone, one of resilience. "If you've moved on," he says, "know that I bless your journey. But if a part of you still aches like I do, then meet me in our next sunrise." These aren't just poetic lines, they're coordinates of hope. He gives her the freedom to choose, even if it means watching her walk away. That is love in its purest form, not possession, but liberation. He writes of the stars they once counted, promising they would be together forever. Some promises aren't broken, he whispers through the verse, they just take longer to fulfill. He is willing to wait a lifetime if that's what it takes. Not because he's weak, but because his soul has recognized its mirror, and no amount of royal distraction can erase that eternal reflection. In one final metaphor, he compares his heart to an unfinished book. "You are the last chapter," he writes. "Without you, my story ends in silence." And though his days are filled with royal duties in the eyes of the world, his nights belong only to her. To her smile, her voice, her absence, her promise. Every breath he takes is another verse waiting for her return. So as the final lines of this royal verse bleed into moonlight, we are left not just with a poem, but with a man who chose love over legend. Sheikh Hamdan's heart has been unveiled, not for pity or applause, but for truth. And in that truth, perhaps she will hear him. Perhaps she already has. Because when a royal heart writes like this, even the heavens pause to listen. In the solitude of my prayer room, I weep silently. Not just for what I lost, but for what the world will never understand, that the most powerful man in the country is brought to his knees by the memory of a woman who made his throne feel like heaven. I look toward the Kaaba and whisper your name with every breath of repentance, every beat of hope. I ask God not to remove the pain, but to use it to bring you back, if not in this life, then in the next. Now, the royal wedding preparations have begun, not in haste, but with purpose. Each detail reflects not just grandeur, but gratitude. And every heart in the kingdom knows, this union is not just a victory of love over fear, it is a celebration of truth over tradition. Because when a prince follows his heart and a woman dares to wait, kingdoms don't just change, they evolve. And in this evolution, her name will rise like poetry that never ends. The good news was real. The blessing was received. And love, at last, was crowned. Stay with us for more poetry, more truth, and more of Sheikh Hamdan's soul unveiled. For when a prince writes with his heart, the world listens, not just with ears, but with the depths of its own longing. Welcome to the chapter where royalty meets reality. Welcome to the